This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 9, Episode 21, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And back discussing all the big things in Washington life and sports as part of the mighty Rick Snyder Network, which has had 15 million views. So thank you so much. And a special programming note. Since I'm not on deadline for the Thanksgiving Day game, I'm going to be here with you, live chat on YouTube during the game. God, there's what we'll talk about for 3 hours. But we'll try it anyway. So bring your pumpkin pie, send me some dessert in advance, and we'll do it a show. Because we need some help, right? It was another bad day. You know, I always say the Giants series, Philly series are the weird games. Dallas is Dallas. Giants are always the games you look back on and say, they didn't win those games? Mm-hmm. And here we go again.
I told you last week I wanted to pick the Giants.
I mean, 9 sacks. They don't get one rushing yard in the first half. That's a franchise record. You played a guy who eat meatloaf from mom, and you lost. I mean, that's just incredible.
I mean, it's how it goes. It's how it goes with this team. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad losses. That was pitiful. That was a pitiful loss. But at the same time, we could all see it coming. I don't know. I could see it coming. I saw it coming last week. You just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I took Washington, but I just didn't think that DeVito would pick them apart. But when he had time, he threw some nice passes to wide open receivers. And, his rating was like 130 something. So I'm not going to do it. But the weirdest part is after the game, the Giants coach, the press was trying to get him to say something nice about this kid. Wouldn't bite. Just basically said, the offense did it. Did you give him a game ball? Nah. I mean, you didn't give this guy a game ball. This is the greatest moment of his whole pro life. Mm-hmm. He's never going to have a game like this.
No.
But he did buy himself a couple of years in the league, sort of like Taylor Heineke did. He'll stay as a backup somewhere for a while now. At least he got that. But even his own coach wouldn't. I guess which tells me he's so bad the coach just couldn't believe that happened.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think the Giants are tanking. They want to tank. Not necessarily. I don't know if they want to replace Daniel Jones. I don't know if they want to bolster their offensive line, which they tried that a couple years ago, but they've been through a lot of injuries and bad contracts and stuff like that. They obviously have their eye on somebody in the top 5, and then Danny DeVito went out there and won them a damn game. I know his name's not Danny DeVito, but I like to call him Danny DeVito. All the broadcast could talk about was how this kid's 25 years old. He still lives at home, and his mom eats his chicken cutlets and makes his bed. Like, come on, man. This is what we are, this is, and look, I'm sorry, but for all you people that said trading Sweat and Young were a bad idea, defense had 9 sacks and they still lost. I mean, Sweat and Young wouldn't have made any difference in that game yesterday because they can't play linebacker or the secondary.
Yeah, at one point, Benjamin St. Juice made a telling comment that didn't make the player quote sheets, but he said it, where he basically said, this defense is still confusing about when you hand off people and all. Now, this is a third-year guy in a 4-year system, and you can see it, where it's sort of like, why isn't anybody near these receivers? Even DeVito can play pitch and catch.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up. I saw Nikki. I'm going to butcher her last name. Gemvala. Is that how you say it?
I honestly can't say it.
She's a very good reporter. I know that, but I can't say her last name. She tweeted out those quotes, and it's like, wait a minute. You've been in the league for 3 years. You've been in the system for 3 years. This is a system that has been in place that, was a top 5 defense a couple years. And we're still doing this, like with a rookie corner. You got Quad Martin playing a lot more due to injury. You still got a second-year guy like Percy Butler. Why are we doing this? Why is it overcomplication with this defense? It's simple. Run man coverage. Have safeties over the top to help. Have a safety come down to be on a tight end because our linebackers can't cover them. Like, it's very simple. It's not hard. And you're getting torched by DeVito and, all these other bums that they've played. You got torched by Desmond Ridder and, Josh Dobbs, who's actually turned out to be a pretty good quarterback for Minnesota. But, these are guys that are lighting you up. Wouldn't you make a change? And look, I'm sorry, but I'm sick and tired of hearing Ron getting on that podium every Sunday. Well, this is something that we need to look at and we need to break down. And I take full responsibility. I've been taking full responsibility for 4 years, dude, and nothing's changed. Like, he's so checked out, Rick. It's not even funny. I mean, he almost is probably hoping he gets fired on Friday.
Well, he gets $8.5 million a year. He has 1 year left on his contract after this one. So people always ask me, why didn't Ron quit? Because that's about $11 million that they still owe him. Mm-hmm. And unless you go somewhere else, if a coach gets fired, they have a couple of things now. I didn't even realize one of them is, okay, against earnings and coaching elsewhere, if that were to happen. But also, if you go into the media, they take that money off the bill too. I didn't know, which means you go to work for free, basically, somewhere.
Yeah.
Getting paid anyway. I thought, all right, so if I give you one coach on this staff to fire, who are you going to take?
The obvious is Jack Del Rio, so I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to go with Brent Wieselmeyer, the secondary's coach. You're trash. The secondary has never been good.
You took my 2 picks.
All right, well then I'll take JDR. I mean, it's obvious. Your system is not working.
I mean, the DB coach, definitely. I would say that. And let's see.
The linebackers coach, whatever his name is, because
yeah, I'm trying to.
Rick, I still don't understand how your defensive coordinator and your head coach played linebacker in this league. One of them won a Super Bowl. The other one was a pretty good linebacker. Played for John Madden or I think no, who did he play for? I don't even remember who JDR played for. I just remember him as Raiders head coach. But anyway, you both played in this league and you have not found a decent linebacker in 4 years. Well, actually, I'm sorry. You drafted a decent linebacker and you let him sign in Pittsburgh.
I mean, David Mayo got 2 sacks yesterday and almost got a third. I know he's your favorite player. They did activate Cody Barton today. At least they brought him back from the 21-day IR now, so they got 3 weeks to decide if they want to use him or not. And he was a full participant in practice today. So does that mean he's coming back? Maybe. Because if it's kind of so-so and you lose the next couple of games, you usually let that guy just stay on IR and get him ready for next year rather than risk something. But, Barton is a possibility. I mean, they're a little banged up. I was looking at they didn't practice today, but they have to do an injury report because it's 3 days out from a game and say, but if they practice, they would be this. Mm-hmm. And basically, they've got the usual post games. One guy that wasn't on the list, though, was Howe. And after that cheap shot he got on the sideline, I'm just amazed he could count to 10 after that one. That was a tough hit.
At least the Giants actually got a flag on that play. But, of course, Curtis Samuel's the only one to get tossed.
Right. Well, no, they had
this league. I don't get it.
They had a guy, too, also get tossed.
Oh, that wasn't announced because the ref's mic wasn't working.
Well, yeah, wasn't that convenient again? That happens more at FedEx than ever.
Well, hey, Rick, they couldn't take a shower after the game because there was no hot water at FedEx either.
That's good. There's hot water's for winners.
Right. We are officially the Cleveland Indians in Major League.
I don't know. These guys are home. Just go home, take a shower. It's really not
what about the Giants guys? What are they going back to the hotel?
Hey, that's a visiting team. Screw them.
Whatever.
They supposedly something broke and they would have had to shut down all the water to fix it, and they couldn't do it during the game. So they just said, "Well, sorry for you guys." So I laughed and I thought, I mean,
I'm sure there was plenty of WSSC trucks out there today to fix it.
It happened all the time at RFK.
Yeah, but the RFK was a dump, but it was our dump. You know what I mean? That was our home field advantage. FedEx is a dump, and we don't even have a home field advantage anymore. The Bloom is off the rose with Harris in them. They lost a couple games, and now all the other teams' fans want to show up again.
I think it's a couple of things. Is one, they hadn't had a home game in about 3 weeks, so they probably haven't run any of the water. You got to let the little, water run sometimes a few minutes for it to warm up.
Yep.
But RFK, as bad as it was 35 years old when they left. This place is what, 18 now or something? Or no, 20. What is it, 26 now? Something like that. So it's it's the warranties are wearing out.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I didn't care. I thought that was pretty funny, but yeah. As to your point of all right. So the crowd. I'd say yesterday the crowd was about 55% Giants fans, a little more than, and of course they're the only ones left in the fourth quarter, but about 55%. So if we look at the games this year, first game Arizona, there's no Cards fans. It's an event. Washingtonians come to events. Since then, you've had the Eagles take the stadium over. Buffalo has. The Giants have Giants at 2-8 still managed to get more people in their building, and I'm forgetting what the other home game was. But they've lost 4 straight home games now, and they've lost the crowd again. So
what was the other home game?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember. Either.
Denver was in Denver, right?
Yeah, you can look it up quicker than me.
I'll look it up. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, look, like you said, Washington is an event town. The event was that Dan Snyder is gone. We're finally buying all in that Dan Snyder is gone. They won a couple games to get everybody's hopes up, and then now they've gone completely flat to where everybody thought they were going to be. I don't know.
Do you think Dan Snyder is somewhere cackling in glee when he sees the scores on his yacht?
No, he's counting his billions.
I still think he's thinking, it wasn't me losing these games, was it?
Well, to an extent, yes, this is you still losing games because you picked a coach, you picked a GM, you picked the players. This is still Dan Snyder's team. Like we've talked about, we have to preach patience, and this is what I continue to preach. I don't see Ron getting fired. This is a ride it out season. Try to get a good draft pick. What better way for Rails and Harris and Magic and Mark Ein and all these guys to start off with a top 10 or a top 5, maybe even top 3 draft pick? I mean, the Giants screwed themselves by beating us, so now they're up to 3-8. I mean, Ron's not going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere because, like you've talked about many times, EB ain't taking this job because he's not damaging his reputation.
Yeah, I think if the draft was held today, they'd be number 7. I think probably the best they can do will be 4, even if they lose out. Maybe if the Giants win a 4th game, well, then we get the tiebreaker over them. But it might be about it. You're not going to get number 1, and I wouldn't want that anyway from USC.
No, that kid, he might end up being a good player, but there's been a couple red flags with that kid. He needs a little bit of maturing. But the other home game was the Thursday night massacre against the Bears.
I thought that's right. So I thought the Bears game was much worse actually than this one, because the Bears hadn't won in a year and they're up like 24-0 at half. So I thought that was a worse game. But
yeah, but the Bears have talent. I mean, there's not much talent aside from Saquon Barkley. I mean, they brought in Darren Waller. He's hurt. They had Kenny Galladay. They cut him because he didn't work out. They got a couple nice wide receivers like Darius Slayton that have been there for a while, but all in all, they're more built on the defensive line, and they're not that good. They're not that impressive. But yeah, Rick, I think this was what was the Bears spread? Was it 10 or 9?
Yeah, it was something 7 or 10. I forget.
Okay, see, that was the thing. This game opened up as the Commanders were 10-point favorites. It obviously got taken down to 8, I think, by game time. But still, this is a team that everybody picked to just roll over, for us to just demolish. And they went out there and laid an egg to a undrafted quarterback that lives at home with his mom. And, you get 9 sacks, which we've been asking for sacks all year. They finally get some sacks. They can't win. They go out and make 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers. I'm sorry. That comes down to coaching and preparedness, because at halftime, you have to pull them in and say, hey, guys, they're punching the ball out. Let's carry the ball more secure, point to point. Like, we got to, this is pee-wee, point to point in your hand, point in your arm. It's just, this was embarrassing. Plus, it's divisional.
So I said we take questions, but we really didn't get many. But
Yeah.
Steve Swampler asked, which players are guaranteed to return next season? Well, Hal, Terry. I mean, the main guys, okay, but I don't know anybody on the offensive line guaranteed. Could be flipped. Linebackers could be flipped. D line, I think they all come. Well, some of them are free agents, like Efiavada, who unfortunately had surgery today on his leg, so he'll probably end up being back here. Most of the secondary, not a whole lot of guys. Fuller's a free agent. I don't see him coming back, so
No.
we'll go over that a little bit later. So, all right, we got to run out of here. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we'll have next show on Wednesday. See you then.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent with your hosts, Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.